here's my microflow that's going to be triggered when we click on that save button. So what would be quite nice is we'll start off in a very sort of straightforward manner. Let's make these fields required. In other words, let's make it so that values actually have to be entered into each of these fields. So I'm going to go back to my microflow, and if we scroll down, we're going to use a decision. So I'm just going to pop a decision over here at the front, and what we can do is we can add a particular kind of client activity that's called validation feedback. Now, as we know, when we did the validation bits, Mendix allows us to sort of show a message in red underneath a field if it's not correct. And there is actually a way for us to actually do this inside a microflow using this particular client activity that's called validation feedback. So I'm just going to drag that over here like that, and I'm going to add an end event. So let's wire these together. That's going to go there. That's going to go there like that. Okay, so let's go through the logic of this. We're going to start off. So remember, this is what happens when you click the save button. We're going to do some kind of condition test. If everything is okay, we're going to save. If everything isn't okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to show some sort of error message and stop. In other words, we're not going to allow the save to progress. So what kind of condition do we want to add here? Well, I'm going to go in and let's test on the first field. So let's test on this KUID field. So we could do something like $options / KUID, and let's say does not equal empty. Okay, there we go. So if this is not empty, then we're going to travel along this path and we're going to allow it to be saved. So I'm going to tap on the little blue dot here and say set the condition to be true, like that. So if this is not empty, if that's true, we're going to go this way and we're going to allow the data to be saved. If it's false, in other words, if it is empty, we're going to travel down to here, down to this validation message. So let's customize this validation message. Now, we haven't done this before, so I'll just go talk you through the dialog box. Basically, remember that this validation message will appear underneath the field where we think that there's an issue. So the way it works is you pick the particular entity and you say which particular field should the error message appear below. So inside options, underneath KUID, and we can now add our message here, and we can say something like KUID is a required field, like that. So I click OK. Let's save it. Let's try it out. So the app is running. Let's click on View App. So I can go into my options, click on New. Now, if I click Save, it's going to run that microflow. So I click on Save, and there we are. KUID is a required field. So because it's empty, it's going to generate that validation message. And notice how it appears underneath the KUID field, which is quite elegant, saying that it is a required field. We do actually have to type a value in. Now, obviously, none of these other fields are required at the moment, so that's why it's not going to create any kind of error message for me. So I should now be able to save. And there we are, just like that. Clearly, the next step is to add the requirement check onto each of the other 4 fields. So let's do that. Go back into my microflow, and I'm just going to move these over a little bit to create a little bit of space. Move this over here, because what we really need is we need this oops, this 4 more times. So I'm going to add a decision like that. And another validation message. Validation feedback message. And another endpoint. And we need to do this 4 more times. So one of these, another one, 1, 2, 3, 4. We need 5 in total because there are 5 fields. There we go, like that. And we need these validation feedback messages. So I'm just going to drag these on here underneath. Okay, now I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so we can, so I can see what I'm doing. So let's tidy this up. Complete the wiring. That's going to go to there. That one's going to go to there, to there, and to there. We need some endpoints. So one there, and one here. And we'll wire those in. Like that. And now we need to add our conditions in. So it's going to be $options / so you want option 1 to not be empty, exclamation mark equals empty, like that. This one is going to be options / option 1 TB1 does not equal empty. Then this one is going to be $options / option 2 does not equal empty. And the final one over here is this one, which is $options / options 2 TB1 does not equal empty. We need to add conditions to each of these lines. So I'm going to say set condition true, set condition true, set condition true, and set condition true. And then we need to show our validation message. So we'll just go through them. Option, this is going to be option 1. So we can say option 1 is required. This one is going to be options. We're going to say option 1 teaching block. So option 1 teaching block is required. This one, which is going to be options, it's going to be the option 2. So option 2 is required, like that. And final one, we go options, option 2 TB2. So option 2 teaching block is required. There we go. So what will happen is, when the save button is clicked, we'll start on this long path down this microflow. We'll test to see if the first field is filled out. If it isn't, we show an error message and we stop. If it is filled out, that's great. We move on to the test the second field. The second field is filled out. Move on, test the third field. Move on, test the fourth field. Move on, test the fifth field in that dialog box. At each point, leaving and showing an appropriate validation message underneath. It's only if every single field has been selected, filled out, can we then actually progress to the commit and closing the page. So let's recreate the app. It's running, so we can tap view. And let's give it a go. Tap new. Let's click save. And it says, oh, KUID is a required field. So let's go over here and let's type a K number. Click save. Oh no, option 1 is required. Okay, let's pick an option 1. Teaching block 2 is required. Second option choice. Teaching block 1. And then we can finally save at that point. So you can see how we are successively checking each particular field, and only if they're all assigned a value can we then click on the save button.